Now skip to my loo.
Netflix's new Furries TV series is about when a mommy furry and a daddy furry get together. They end up with me. Oh, I think this is not the right one to review.
So Netflix has just dropped a French TV series that seems like it wants to be in the world of John Wick. Imagine a John Wick-ish French TV series. And that's kind of what you have here, but it's a little different. So let's jump in and talk about the Furries. The Furies. The Furies. A dive into Paris's criminal underworld when Lina meets the enigmatic and brutal Fury, the boss of the hazardous environment. So the series is fun. You know, with the 8 episodes that we have, ranging about 45 minutes apiece, it dips and dives and ducks, dip, duck, dive, something dodgeball. Where we have a lot of action sequences in every episode, and it leans heavily into the various type of gun fu, hand-to-hand combat, explosions. The thing is, for everything this series does right, it does something wrong. So the whole time I was going through this, okay, I'm enjoying this bit, but now this bit I don't quite believe. For every good stunt, there will be a sped up car chase scene that just looks obviously that they've sped it up. Or there'll be a little mound of dust on the road that's like where this car was going to hit, but then doesn't really hit. There'll be moments when the guns are not sounding right. The impact of the guns, the sound effects doesn't sound right. It sounds less impactful than what you would get out of one of those Call of Duty games when you get a controller and they've taken away the vibration of the gun, and so you're just shooting and everybody's falling down, but there's no real impact. That's kind of what it feels like at times in this. And then you'll get a sequence which is brutally well orchestrated, some great violence choreographed to look great, and you get to see what it is. And then you'll switch to a fast choreographed, heavily cut edited moment where you can't see what's going on. So like every moment I was like, okay, so I've got to rely on the story, which is based on this Lina character grown up in a world that she doesn't want to tell her boyfriend about, which is to do with mafia families, and they are governed in, I guess, the Furies. Fury, who is like this assassin badass chick that they send in to deal with any issues that these mafia families have. And that premise alone is interesting enough. Then you have a group of assassins that's within this organization as well. Different heads control different aspects of criminal underground world, where one's dealing with prostitutes, one's dealing with drugs, one's dealing with the internet and scams, and they all are very quirky, and that's about as far as we get to know these characters. Really, we are dealing with Lina and her boyfriend and some other characters that we meet along the way, and the Fury. And the story gets more and more complicated as you go. As you'd expect, they release some information to you to keep you guessing, but give you a little bit of, oh, this is where the story's going, and then it's going to be like, you didn't see this coming with the story revelation, and except you probably did. There's very few twists and turns in this that you're probably not going to guess. There were a couple that were like, oh, okay. And when it comes to the ending, I was like, you got to be kidding me. It feels like a John Wick TV series that's stretched out. Now, we did get the Continental, and I loved what they did with that. It was so stylistic. Here, we get bits of that, but not quite. And then they give us moments to care about the characters, except you don't, or I didn't really. Even when we get to moments where characters are dying, there's so little impact with the action that often doesn't feel real between the gun work or the choreography that looks like choreography, or some of the move sets that our characters are having to carry off, and you have to believe them in those roles. Not just from our main protagonist, but also from the other stunt guys. However they've been choreographed, there were moments in this where I just didn't believe a certain character shooting. These are... Example, there are the best of the best, higher than the assassins. One organization group, and the guy will walk into the room and just like spray the guns, and it just didn't look right. It didn't look like it was professional, it just looked amateur-ish. I mean, even when it comes to sort of the editing and the believability of what you're meant to believe the characters can do, or that they have so much plot protection that even it would be stronger than the John Wick plot protection. Here we have moments where, for example, guns with laser sights.
Just touch the trigger, the beam comes on, and you put the red dot where you want the bullet to go.
Will have that sound. And as it's passing through the window, you will hear the laser sight sound going. And I was like, this reminds me of the old 80s movies. Except I'm not having as much fun as with those old 80s movies.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
Hey, just what you see, pal.
So for everything it did right, it did something that irritated me. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm going to go down the line and give it 2.5 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
You got one.
Now maybe that's been a little bit harsh, but for me, when I got to the end, I was almost on board giving it a 3. And then the end left it up in the air with another. We might get a second series, but maybe not, depending on whether we, have people watching us. So I didn't mind the acting. I wasn't really that emotionally engaged as much as definitely the writers wanted us to be. So I didn't really care about who died in the end. But I liked some of the action. I loved some of the choreography in some of the scenes. I thought it worked really well. Some of the camera work was very well done, very creative, excellently portrayed in a new way, so it's keeping the action fresh.
On ne naît pas Fury, on le devient.
Because there is a lot of action in this. So if you kind of just want to watch a drama, a family, mafio integrated with a bunch of assassins and seeing things going wrong and seeing how that escalates into something like a big crescendo. There's particularly a great scene on a train that I thought was well executed, that I enjoyed. So some of that editing was good, but then for the other 3/4, I was just like, what is happening? So let me know your thoughts and feelings down below when you've seen it. Will you give it a go? Was this even on your radar? I love watching world cinema, anything that isn't like generally just English or American, and seeing some German content, some French content, Italian, Turkish, from around the world, which is why I watch this stuff. So I kind of had my hopes up for this series. Maybe I should have gone in with a lower expectation. But it's okay for a one-time watch if you don't have much else to watch. So let me know what you thought about this. Thanks so much for watching. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.